Good Saturday, everybody. First pitch here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. I am Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com alongside Dwayne Bryant, Dave Koch, Steve Merrill from wagertalk.com. A beautiful Saturday. Baseball, college football, NBA, NHL Game 7, Kentucky Derby, all for the taking here. Let's go around the panel, see how everybody's Friday was. We'll start with you, Dave. How did you have a good Friday?
No, I went 1-2. But, I think I was 8-1-1. For a few days before that, or 9-1-1, I can't remember which. So, I'll get back a game. Thankfully, the Golden Knights got 2 empty net goals, so that won. Lost a couple of winnable games in baseball, but they didn't get there. I'm going to give my Derby out right here, right now. Okay? Now, bear in mind, I absolutely suck at the Derby. Okay? I am not good at this race, but I'm taking, and I'm not a big horse bet. I'm taking $100, and I'm going to screw it around with some exactas and trifectas involving the 10, the 15, and the favored 17. So, sorry for those of you on the favorite. I just jinxed the hell out of that horse, and somebody else will probably win. But 10, 15, 17, and maybe I'll get lucky. As for the other stuff, nothing in college football today. I'm not playing any of the games. I'll give some quick thoughts at some point in this show because there's no place else to put them. And I don't have my baseball up yet. I am not playing the hockey game. And what am I leaving out? I think that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Yep. I'll have the baseball up in about an hour.
Steve, how was your Friday?
Split out, went 1-1. Baseball's been good. I think like a 3-0 run the last few days. NBA has not been. I've lost several in a row there, and the Bucks have been the main culprit of that. They've cost me at least back-to-back losses. They had a 12-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Best record in the league the last 2 years, down 0-2 and down 0-1, down 0-2, and still find a way to get outscored 40-13 in the fourth quarter. So the NBA's been choppy, but baseball's been very good. Had the Dodgers on the run line. A nice come from behind win there, 10-6.
And what will you have today with everything that's going on?
Yeah, still working on it. I usually like to try to get up before the show at noon, but it's a big card, like you said, Matt. College football, NBA, Major League Baseball. We'll definitely have some best bets on wagertalk.com within the next couple hours.
And then Dwayne up in the corner square. How was your Friday, and what can we expect today?
Pretty good. I hit 2 out of 3 in baseball last night. Of course, the only one that gets me is the one that lost. The Giants lost by a run. They had so many chances to win that game. They had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 8th with nobody out and couldn't even get the tying run in. Frustrating for sure, but I'll take a winning day because it's been a rough week before that for me. So hoping this is the beginning of a good run. I'll have my baseball up shortly after this show is over. I'm not sure about anything else yet at this point.
And I went 2-2 yesterday. Unfortunately, my 5%er lost. The Mets were the Mets. They couldn't take advantage of Jake Arrieta. Brandon Workman had his first 1-2-3 inning I think he's had since he's joined the Phillies, but hit a couple of other props as well on a 13-6-1 run. I've got 5 plays up, basically a 5-pack, 3 college football, 2 Major League Baseball, potentially another prop or 2 as they start showing up for the Major League Baseball. All right, so this is the baseball show, and as you can see, scrolling across the bottom, just a couple of days left on the best deal that we're going to have on this website. 30 days, all access to your favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper. $199, usually $349 or less than $7 per day. That includes 5%ers and all that good stuff. You do not have a lot of time left. $199 for 30 days for all access. And of course, as you heard, some of the guys haven't put up their picks yet, so you will get them the moment they do arrive. All right, first game today in our big 3, Padres and A's. You've got Paddock and Manaea are your pitcher. Excuse me. It's actually the Brewers and the Indians. We'll start with the Brewers and Indians. I went in the wrong order there. Woodruff and Savale. Short line here for the Indians. We'll start with you, Dave. Not a good effort from Cleveland last night.
No, but, look, they ran into a guy who was throwing it very well, and they don't hit good pitching. It's about what it comes down to, and they might run into more good pitching in this game. Price I made was about 113, so it's right in line where it should be as far as the numbers concerned. The Brewers are showing a little signs of life. They could be a team that maybe becomes a little bit go with as we get to these last 20 games. Kind of ride out the weekend with them and see where they go from there. Look, the talent's there on that team. they've underperformed as far as I'm concerned, even with Lorenzo Cain ducking out because of COVID. And the Indians are just a very difficult team to figure. When they're able to score runs, they're really good because they've got great pitching. But too many games where they get shut down, and this could be one of them with Woodruff. So this ended up as being a pass for me.
Yeah, both sides, Steve. When you look, no Brewers have seen Savali before. Only 4 Indians have faced Woodruff before him, and both pitchers pretty good.
Yeah, I'm with Dave about the Brewers being a play-on team. You could see them heating up. They've won 5 of their last 7. They've put up at least 6 runs or more in each of those 5 wins. I like to look for offensive momentum when teams are heating up, but they're still the bipolar Brewers. Those 2 losses, they get outscored 17-2 in between. So you just never know what you're going to get on a day-by-day basis. But I think Dave is right. Over the next week or 2, I think they'll be a moneymaker. And they did underachieve. You know, we talk about teams that play back to the norm. Milwaukee's the one I've been targeting. I still like Cleveland big for the not big. I like Cleveland big picture is what I was going to say. As you guys know, I mentioned them a few weeks ago at 20-1 to win the World Series. It's because of that pitching. But as Dave also said, the hitting is also very inconsistent. They've now put up 2 runs or less in 4 of their last 6 games. I haven't updated it, though, Matt. Their 2 wins the last couple of days, though, they put up more than 2. All those losses, 2 or less. I think they're now 19-2 this year when they score 3 runs or more, which is just an incredible stat.
Dwayne, when you look at Savali, 267 the first time through, hitters are hitting him, 197 the second time through, 314 the third time through, and then Woodruff coming off the paternity. He had a child last week, which is great. So what are you thinking when you look at this matchup?
Well, it's a bounce back spot for both of the starters. Woodruff gave up 4 runs and 2 homers in 5 innings against Pittsburgh in his last start. Savali, he allowed 5 runs in 6 innings at St. Louis in his last start. Woodruff, he's pitched well when coming off a start in which he gave up multiple home runs. We'll see if that continues here. Savali, he should have an early game edge. Milwaukee's hitters have never faced him. He did throw 103 pitches his last start, but he's done that 3 other times this season and produced a quality start in each of the ones that followed, so I'm not really concerned about that. Savali's pitched well in his 6 career home starts. 5 of the 6 have gone under the total. Cleveland's 4-1 in his 5 home starts as a favorite. And Milwaukee owns weak numbers against right-handed pitching. They're just 2-5 straight up as a road dog against righties, averaging 3.1 runs per game. But the Indians haven't been anything special either, especially against righties. They're just 4-4 as a home favorite against righties. They do have a very solid bullpen, though. Milwaukee's pen's been good over the last week. All in all, I think it's a pretty fairly priced game all the way around. So, I mean, I don't really think that there's any value on anything in this matchup. If I had to play it, I think I would take Cleveland.
I would say also there's potentially some value over 5.5 strikeouts for Brandon Woodruff because Cleveland's a team that's swinging it freely right now, and certainly Woodruff has the strikeout potential in him. All right, game number 2, Phillies and Mets. So the Phillies bigger underdogs than they were yesterday with Jake Arrieta. Spencer Howard, the rookie for the Phillies, looked good. He's got some good stuff, but the problem was his last start. Velocity dropped big time. First inning, 95 mile an hour down to 92 in the 4th and 5th inning, and then you've got Seth Lugo, a.k.a. Mets bullpen day. Steve, start us off.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that does jump out to me, speaking of bullpens, Matt, is that the Phillies still have a very bad bullpen statistically, one of the worst, if not the worst in the league, 6.7 ERA, 1.8 whip in all games this season. It just, the numbers have come down a teeny bit, but they're still pretty bad. But good offense overall. I mean, they're averaging a run more per game than the Mets. So they can definitely out-hit them here. I guess if you like the Phillies, you're probably maybe looking a little bit at the over as well.
Dave, what do you think? Obviously, you said before you don't like bullpen games because you don't know how the layout's going to go. What do you think about how the Mets are going to approach this game?
Well, I think they'll just hope that Lugo goes out there and pitches brilliantly again because his numbers are really good. Obviously, what's he going to go? 4 innings, 5 innings, maybe, as they stretch him out. And then at that point, you've got worries. I would be a little concerned about Howard. I read the same thing you did about his velocity dropping each inning in the last start, and I think that's something to be concerned about. And the Mets certainly have the offensive thunder to take advantage of that if he starts getting down to the 91, 92 range with the fastball. So I like the Mets here. What I don't like is the price, and there's no chance I'm laying $1.60. So it'll be a game I stay out of, even though I think the Mets do win this game.
Yeah, Dwayne Lugo threw 60 pitches last time out. The last time he threw that much was June of 2018. Is that a concern for you? As you mentioned Savali threw so many pitches last time. Are you concerned about Lugo getting stretched out still?
Not really. He pitches really well at home. The Mets are 8-1 in his 9 starts as a home favorite. My concern in this game is Howard, and you guys both touched on it. With his fastball velocity dropping inning by inning in that last game. And what's odd is that he hasn't reported any physical issues. So, it's a mystery why that's happened. And Joe Girardi was quoted and I think I have the quote here somewhere. Girardi said, "We're kind of digging into that to find out because it's not something that he's experienced in the past. We're trying to figure it out." So they have no idea what's going on. That's certainly not somebody that I want to put my money on at this point. The Phillies are averaging just 3 3/4 runs a game in their 4 games as a road dog against a righty. The Mets have good numbers against righties, especially at home. I am not a guy that will buck a team on a winning streak. So even though Howard has those issues, I don't know. I can't back the Phillies because of Howard's issues. I think maybe the Mets team total over might be the way to go. I mean, the Phillies bullpen has been better since they made their trades, but it's still not very good. So between Howard and that bullpen, I think maybe the Mets team total over is the way to go here.
Also should be noted, Bryce Harper sat yesterday, so he should be in the lineup today. We'll see if that makes any difference for the Phillies lineup. All right, now we actually will do the Padres and the A's. Paddock and Manaea. Paddock bouncing back, had a nice start in Colorado, gave up 2 runs, actually no earned runs in 6 innings. Manaea has only crossed the 80-pitch plateau once. Dwayne, we'll start with you on this one.
Paddock's coming off a really good start. He didn't allow an earned run in 6 innings at Coors Field. The problem is he hasn't had back-to-back quality starts yet this season. And it's a career thing with him because in his career, the Padres are just 2-7 when he starts on the road and he's coming off a quality start. He should have an early edge here, though, as Tony Kemp is the only Oakland hitter that's ever faced him, and that was only 3 at-bats. So that unfamiliarity should give him an early game edge. For Manaea, it's been a tale of 2 seasons. He allowed 15 runs in 15 innings in his first 4 starts, but just 4 earned runs in 15 1/3 innings with 12 strikeouts and 1 walk over his last 3 starts. 2 of his 3 home starts this season haven't been good, but in his career, he does have very solid numbers at home. What concerns me is he's got a career low 8.9% swinging strike rate. And he's also got a career worst hard contact rate that's over 50%. And you couple that with the Padres being, strong against left-handed pitching. I don't know. The A's have decent numbers against righties, but they're averaging just 3.6 runs in 13 home games against them. Oakland's bullpen is really good. I do like them. The San Diego pen is heading in the right direction. The under has some appeal to me at this point.
Steve, I know at times you dabble in the first 5s a little bit, but considering Manaea has only crossed the 80-pitch plateau once, if you like the A's potentially looking at the first 5, because you probably are going to get only 5 from him?
Yeah, and the line's pretty much -110 first 5, -110 game. Really no difference here at all. What did jump out to me, Matt, though, there's the 4.5 for the first 5 total, 8.5 for the game. And the reason I was looking at the total a little here is these are obviously 2 teams that can put up 4 or 5 runs, boom, in 1 inning. And as you always say with those first 5s, Matt, 1 inning can crush you, especially on the lower totals. What I want to point out, though, guys, is how good this San Diego team is. Dave and I both talked about it earlier last week, I think, about how they're fun to watch. It's a team to root for almost. They have the second best margin in the entire league, plus minus, as far as runs scored versus runs allowed. I like to look at that as a overall barometer. They're 1 behind the Dodgers for total runs. They're 21 runs ahead of anybody else in the league, runs scored. Obviously, it's not their pitching. It's been their offense. But then you dig into it a little bit deeper. You look, they allow just 0.3 points higher batting average than the A's. They allow their opponents 241. The A's allow 244. And I'm sorry, they both allow 241. I was going to say the on-base percentage is just 3 points higher. The problem's been the bullpen. That's really the only difference between these teams. But as we saw, San Diego won 7-0 last night. They're in good form. And I would be a little concerned with the over 8.5, even though it looks like a low number for me, Matt, just because the A's do appear to be cold offensively. They've now put up 2 runs or less in 5 of their last 6 games overall.
Dave, what did you price this game at?
I have it higher than the number, 130 on Oakland. Padres have become an extremely public team and that's what happens when teams are really bombing the ball offensively. Bettors fall in love with those teams, and I can't really fault that logic, to be honest with you. It kind of makes some sense. Teams that are putting up a lot of runs get very attractive to the bettors, and they went out and put up some more last night, and Oakland didn't get anything. They're the hotter team right now, so I can see where the line is where it is. The A's are getting much better performances out of Manea lately. I mean, his last 3 starts have been good. He looks like he's healthy again, and I kind of threw out his early stuff because he wasn't healthy. So, I mean, it's 2 different pitchers. And here's the one thing on Paddock. I mean, he looked great last time out. He was absolutely fantastic, but that was against, was that against the Diamondbacks, I believe?
Last time I was against the Rockies.
I was against the Rockies, right. And the start before that, he was awful against Seattle. Start before that was very good against Texas. Start before that, he was not good against the Dodgers. He's been bouncing back and forth, and one thing that to me would be a concern, he's given up 10 home runs. And Oakland loves to go deep, even though they haven't hit a lot of home runs this year. I think the value here is with the A's.
All right, so that's our big 3 games. And don't forget, scrolling across the bottom, 30 days all access with your favorite Wage Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for $199. And, of course, the best part of that is there's NFL next week. There's college football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey. NASCAR is still going on. You've got the Kentucky Derby. So for the next 30 days, we've got you covered, and you'll just want to do it $199. And as everybody said, you don't want to buy somebody's day picks per se. You want to buy 30 days and then ride with the highs and the lows. And most people on this website and then Wager Talk and Sports Memo have the highs. So please, the deal will run out soon, and you can read more about it on the bottom scroll. All right, time for some quick hits. We'll start out Marlins and Rays. Alcantara, who was very rusty last time out against the Rays, and Snell, who was very good against Miami, who can't hit lefties right now. Dave, we'll start with you.
Oh, I'm not going against the Rays. I mean, that was a spot last night where it's like, okay, this might be a dead spot for them. Everything's just going right for this team. They're down 2-1 in the 4th inning. Bases loaded, 2 outs. And count goes to 3-2, and pitcher got squeezed on a pitch that should have got him out of the inning. Moments later, 5-2. And they did make it 5-4, but I lost that first 5 bet, and I've decided, no, it's either raise or pass for me.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But the one concern with Snell, Steve, is he's allowed 5 homers over his last 15 2/3 innings.
Yeah, and I mean, Tampa's not crushing the ball. They're the exact opposite of San Diego almost. They're winning a lot of games, but they're doing it with their pitching. You look at, they finally went over the total last night, barely put up 9 runs total. 6 of the previous 8 games had stayed under before that. And if they cool off at some point, as they're due to do, obviously, after this 27-12 start, you figure it might be the offense that continues to lag. If that pitching explodes at any point, they're in trouble. But as Dave said, I'm not going to get in front of that momentum. It looked like a possible letdown spot. After the series, they were coming off of the big series against the Yankees. Now, they did have a day off. They didn't play Thursday, and we talked about it on Wednesday's show. I said that first game after the Yankees could be a letdown, but they have a day off. We see if it happens now. I'm not trying to guess when that letdown happens at this point.
Dwayne, Alcantara last time out looked rusty after coming off the COVID break. How long do we give him before we think he gets back to the form we think he can do?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's had enough time yet. Like you said, he did get hit by the Rays this season already. You also touched on the fact that Snell's given up 5 home runs in his last 3 starts. The Rays have good numbers against righties, and Miami's pen is definitely among the worst in the league. So, I think maybe the Rays team total going over might be the way to look here.
By the way, for those following along in the chat, and of course for the people who watch this afterwards, we do go in rotation order. So if you're trying to find your game, we try our best to stay in rotation number order. Yankees and Orioles, Garrett Cole, 7 home runs his last 16 2/3 innings. He's already faced the Orioles once back in July. Aiken for the Orioles, impressive in Buffalo his first time out. Steve, we'll start with you.
Yeah, if you had that the Yankees would only be 4 games ahead of the Orioles after 38 games played, I think you could have gotten some good plus money odds on that one. The Orioles have actually lagged a bit after their hot start. They've only won, I believe, 3 of their last 10. They're still just 4 games behind the Yankees because the Yankees continue to zigzag. alternated wins or losses. Basically, are 2-4 their last 6. Now, granted, they did come off that tough series against Tampa. Then they lost the makeup game against the Mets. But they've split out so far against the Orioles here in that doubleheader yesterday. Tough to trust the Yankees right now, laying over 2-1 until they get some momentum going.
Dave, the old tipping and video watching was being spoken about with regards to Cole the last couple of days.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Not worried about Cole. Aiken wasn't bad last time out. Actually, got hurt by an error, which got him knocked out of the game. But he pitched pretty well. But no, I had no interest in them here. Andres Loera, Koken, you are older than dirt. Yep, you're probably right. But I'm also likely in better shape than you are.
And you make more money than dirt too, probably.
He definitely does.
Yeah, I've done all right over the years.
Dwayne, you got Aiken here. His workload's being monitored, so we're only looking at probably a 4 or 5 inning outing for Aiken. Does that mean you may look at the first 5 here?
That's exactly what I'm looking at here. You mentioned it. Cole has allowed 7 homers in his last 3 starts and 9 runs in his 10 innings over his last 2 starts. Aiken, he didn't allow an earned run in his first start. You mentioned that too at Toronto. Yankees actually own subpar numbers against lefties, and they've never faced Aiken, so that should give him an early edge here. The Orioles are actually 8-5 on the run line as a home dog against righties. So I'm considering Baltimore on the first 5, plus a half a run at plus money. That looks like, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, that certainly does look juicy there because this is an Orioles team that's actually hit the ball a little bit as of late, but of course they don't have a ton of guys here to consider. Reds and Pirates, Desclafani was rocked last time in his first start off of paternity leave. Trevor Williams was rocked his last start in Milwaukee. Dwayne, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, it goes farther back than that for Desclafani. He got blasted by Pitt 3 weeks ago. He's given up 18 earned runs on 19 hits and 10 walks in his last 10 innings. That spans his last 3 starts. Williams opposed him in that game on August 13th, and he didn't pitch that well either, but nowhere nearly as bad as Desclafani did. Reds bullpen's been pretty bad over the last week, and I don't trust Pitt's pen either. So my initial thought is to go over in this one.
Dave, with the Pirates, can you trust an over?
No, I don't trust anything about the Pirates. So this is a game where the analytics actually have me pointing to Pittsburgh here, but I don't want them. And I don't want the Reds, who, we've talked about them endlessly. This is a team they're just a flop, okay? You can count on this every season, apparently, because it's happened each of the last 2 years, where the Reds are a team that gets a lot of preseason hype, and then they just fall on their face. And I don't think they're well managed. I think Bell is, if you're making out a list from 1 to 30, he's not in the top half, let's put it that way. So, it's a slight lean to the Pirates, but not for money.
Yeah, certainly not your worst enemy's money. Steve, I know we don't look as much to past history, but Pirates hitters are hitting nearly 400 in their career against Desclafani.
I look at that though, Matt. I mean, it's something you and I have talked about over the years. I think there's something there. Obviously, you have to be careful because it's usually a very small sample size for the most part. There's obviously going to be some randomness there. But I like, if hitters in the lineup are hitting 400 against a guy, it's better than hitting 100. It is something I look at. And I'll also point out the Pirate hitters in general are hitting better right now. The Reds have had single-digit hits now in 8 straight games. The Pirates have put up 10 hits or more in 3 of their last 5, 8 or more in 4 of their last 5. And guess what, guys? After that 4-17 start, I remember I was doing the show a couple weeks ago when they swept the Brewers. Pirates have now gone 8-8 their last 16 games. They've been playing 500 baseball for a couple weeks, and they have the 3rd worst run differential in the league. The Red Sox and Rangers are actually worse now over the past week.
Yeah.
So you could actually make an argument that they're not the worst team in baseball anymore, even though I don't trust them either.
The dumb bastards are going to blow the number 1 overall pick.
That's right. They're playing too hard to get the 1 pick.
This could be also a very good game to take the over for the runs, hits, and errors if both the starting pitchers are gas cans and put a lot of runners on base. That's something to consider. It's 27.5, which is interesting because the total is 9. Usually if a higher total, you would see a higher runs, hits, and errors number. White Sox and Royals. White Sox versus a lefty, especially a lefty that was good against them last time, had 8 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings. Dave, do we just blindly look at the White Sox here?
I'm not playing against them, that's for sure. 12-0 now. And they just kill lefties. Now they've seen this kid. No, I think they're going to get him. And Giolito, obviously extremely capable. I think White Sox are a team that if you're if you're looking for the big truck parlay today, they should be the first team on the ticket.
Dwayne Bubich, 271 hitters are hitting him the first time through, 367 the second time through if he gets that far against this lineup.
Yeah, and that's questionable. Like you guys said, the obvious. The White Sox crush left-handed pitching. They've already faced Bubich twice this season, so they should have a good read on him. One thing that concerns me about him is that he threw 106 pitches in his last start. So arm fatigue could be a possibility for him as well. Couple that with the fact that the Royals bullpen is very hittable. And obviously, I can't lay the price with the White Sox either, but I'm not going against them. But maybe that White Sox team total over is worth a look.
Steve, that White Sox first 5 -0.5. It's very pricey if someone still wants to take it, though.
Yeah, I mean, the White Sox have lost 4 straight, don't forget, and the Royals here off back-to-back win. I'm sorry, the Royals have lost 4 straight. The White Sox off back-to-back wins, 18 runs scored their last 2, and they hit lefties well. So, I mean, I don't see how you play against them here. I'm not going to lay over $2. By the way, I do have a free play of the total here, so I'll tell everyone to go to wagertalk.com right now for my free baseball play for Saturday. It's on the over-under in this game.
By the way,
even the runs line's expensive on this, -1.5, -150.
Yeah, it's very expensive. I think Vegas has finally figured out the White Sox are really good against lefties, unfortunately. Tigers and Twins, Skubal and Maeda. I'll say this, last time out, I had Maeda, the under team total for the Tigers. Sweated it out. It hit it because it was 3.5, but he gave up 3 earned runs, 2 home runs in that one, Steve. What do you think about Maeda and Skubal?
I mean, the Tigers have been, win 5-6 in a row, then lose 5-6 in a row. And after that 6-game win streak, when we started saying Johnny Detroit should sell out that prop ticket, hopefully he did. They've now lost 3 straight, not hitting the ball that well, 7 total runs, 2 or less, and 2 of those 3 losses. Minnesota, meanwhile, was due to heat up. They had 6 straight losses, and now they're off 4 wins. This looks like 2 teams definitely headed in opposite directions for me, but once again, a -260, 265. No value there. If I was going to play it, I'd take the Twins on the run line, but that's a big price as well.
Yeah, Twins lose Kepler, who's he's an important guy on that team. So it's not the end of the world, but it does have an impact on him. Maeda is really due for some regression, not based on his metrics or anything like that. I'm just basing that on his career. He's just not this good. He's okay. I think he's a decent middle of the rotation guy, but he's just been pitching at an extraordinary level this season. And maybe the last start was a little bit of a sell sign. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm not going against the Twins here either.
Twins have struggled a little bit this season, hitting just 242 against lefties, but they do have Donaldson back and Buxton as well for that lineup. What do you think, Dwayne?
Well, Maeda has had 6 straight quality starts. He was nearly unhittable in his first 2 home starts as a Twin. He faced the Tigers in Detroit in his last start, allowed 3 runs, including 2 homers in 6 innings. I'm sure allowing those 2 homers didn't sit well with him, so I'm sure he's looking to make adjustments here. I can't lay the price with Minnesota, and it's funny that you mentioned that Detroit team total under because that's exactly where I'm looking at in this game.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be 3.5 there, and it's a Tigers lineup that, of course, isn't very good. All right, we've come to the doubleheader portion. For those who have not seen it, the guys usually don't have a lot, but I'll make sure to say this. So the Angels and Astros are playing a doubleheader. Angels are the home team for game 1. They are the road team for game 2. Switch things up. I mean, this is all craziness. Just for the people who have not been here, Dave, any thoughts on what you're looking at this game between the Astros and the Angels?
I didn't look at them. Basically, I've just been throwing the doubleheaders out. The only thing I will say is if you see Toro and Mayfield both in the lineup for Houston, you might want to consider the other side. That's like having two automatic outs in the lineup. That Toro, I can't. I don't know how he's on a major league roster. Guy gets completely over. Anybody with a decent fastball has got no chance.
Steve, any notes or thoughts on either of these 2 games?
Well, the second game, I mean, I've seen undecided for LA in some spots, and I'm seeing Pollitt listed in some, but there's no line on that game, so it's impossible to really even handicap that. But as you said, I'm staying away from most of these doubleheaders. But a good point, Matt, about the role reversal and home and away, because that will affect the run line more than anything. Keep in mind, because run line is very dependent on teams, batting, getting that extra at bat in the 9th inning.
Or the
Dwayne,
7th.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point, Dave. The 7th in this one, the new world we live in.
Dwayne, any thoughts on this doubleheader?
No, me and Dave have the same philosophy on doubleheaders. I just throw them completely out.
All right, the other doubleheader, just to tell people, Cubs are home for the first game. They are road for the second game. So Cubs home first game, Cardinals home second game once again. Crazy world we live in. All right, Nats and Braves, Fetty and Fried. I thought Tony Finn's contract said he had to be here for his Cy Young candidate. So we'll start with you, Dave. Fried and Fetty in what seems to be a huge mismatch.
And you've got the Nationals' great record against lefties in play here. So can they do something against this lefty? Well, maybe they can, but then you've got Eric Fetty on the other side. And he just never developed into the pitcher they'd hoped he'd be coming out of UNLV. He had Tommy John surgery. Some guys come all the way back from it. Some guys don't. I think Fetty was a guy who was a great prospect when he was here at UNLV. And, you know, he was a top 10 draft choice. And he just never got back to that level. And he's been extremely hittable. So it looks like a game Atlanta should win regardless of the Nationals' success against lefties.
Dwayne, Soto also on a question mark. Does that mean maybe the Nats team total comes into play here potentially?
I'm not sure about that. I'm actually looking at the team total on the other side here. Again, it's another game with another high line. Braves hit righties pretty well. They're averaging 7 runs per game as a home favorite against righties. They've hit Fetty very well when they faced him as well. The Washington bullpen is also not good at all. So put that together, and this is another game where the team total going over for Atlanta might be the way to go.
Yeah, Steve, adding to what Dwayne said, last year, 14 earned runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings by Fetty against these Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, and look, the Nationals put up 10 runs last night. They were 1-10 straight up until that game. So maybe you say, hey, they're starting to turn things around. It's obviously a tough spot against one of the best pitchers in the league. But if you think they are starting to heat up offensively, the Braves probably do their part. The Braves have put up 7 runs or more now, 5 of their last 6. They've put up 6 runs or more in each of their last 6 games. So hard to imagine the Atlanta team total at least doesn't get there tonight.
Nearly 300 people in the chat room. You are the reason why we do this show on the weekends, although next week there might be a little bit of a change in scheduling, so stay tuned. Hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell. You'll never miss a show. We will be back tomorrow at noon with First Pitch here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Steve Merrill, Dwayne Bryant, Dave Koken, all on wagertalk.com. I am on sportsmemo.com. We have come to the Red Sox portion of the show. Blue Jays and Red Sox, Chase Anderson and Ryan Weber. Shades of Louis Tiant and insert Toronto pitcher here. Dave, what do you think for this matchup?
I'm never betting on Ryan Weber. So, yeah, it's either Blue Jays or pass. And the Blue Jays are playing, decent ball right now. They're under the radar. They're doing some good things. Ryan Weber can't pitch at the major league level. I mean, he can't. He's as long as he's out there, he'll be a 6 ERA type of guy. So, yeah, you don't want him. Anything else here? No, I mean, I'm not. Chase Anderson's not a guy I want to chase particularly. Could be a high-scoring game.
Steve, I guess I should have said maybe Dave Stieb for the Toronto Blue Jays pitcher there. Is that what I'm going with?
I was going to. You stole the name I was going to say. I was trying to go back to my mid '80s baseball card days and picture who it was. It was Dave Stieb. I was going to say Rusty Staub was a Met. It was Dave Stieb. Thank you, Matt Joseph. That's the name I was looking for.
Met him up in Reno years ago.
Of course,
I think he still lives there.
We had Mosby in the outfield and some of those. They had a great outfield in the 80s. But
Brant Smallnings?
I digress, of course. But, hey, I'll tell you who does not have a great pitching staff this year. It's the Red Sox. I mean, and Dave said, if the starter's not going to be any good, then they're in big trouble because the bullpen definitely is not any good. As I mentioned earlier, guys, the worst run differential in all of baseball is the Red Sox. It's not the Pirates. It's not the Mariners. It's the Red Sox. They're not a good team. And as Dave pointed out accurately a few weeks ago, be careful. They're sellers. And if there's one team, it looks like they've checked out. And I always say, Matt, I think teams that have had nice runs over the years check out sooner when they're having a bad season because they really realize they're up against it. And that would, the Red Sox check all these boxes. I don't want anything to do with them here. I will point out, though, on the total, as we know, this is the Toronto Blue Jays because it's the road game. It's not the Buffalo Blue Jays. They're averaging a total of 7.8 runs on the road this year, 10 runs in Buffalo. That's how much of a home road dichotomy we continue to see with the Blue Jays.
Dwayne, anything on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Anderson's off his best start of the season. And like you guys said, Weber, he's gotten hit very hard, especially in his 4 home starts at Fenway. You mentioned it too. The Red Sox bullpen's garbage. The Jays were 3-1 as a road favorite against righties. Boston's just 2-8 as a home dog against righties. So it's got to be Blue Jays or nothing for me.
All right, got about 10 minutes here, 3 games left, and then I want to touch on some of the other sports because Dave wants to comment on college football. We'll get Steve's thoughts on the NBA. So we got 3 games left to do during the quick hit segment. Texas and Seattle. Love fading Kyle Gibson, especially as of late. Justice Sheffield had been good. The walks reared its ugly head a little bit in that Anaheim start last time out. Dwayne, thoughts on this one?
Well, it's 2 teams going in opposite directions right now. Seattle's won 3 straight. Texas lost 3 straight. I'm not a guy that likes to buck momentum. Sheffield's only 2 bad starts this season were both against the Angels. He's pitched very well at home. Seattle's numbers against righties are much better than Texas's numbers against lefties. So I would have to go Seattle here.
Dave, the 4 walks he had last start were equal to the 4 walks he had in the other 4 combined starts last month. Are you worried at all about him?
Yeah. He's still a very inconsistent young pitcher. He's got talent, but it hasn't been harnessed yet. But look, it's either Seattle or pass. I think the Rangers are now in that category of let's get this over with as quickly as possible. And remember, it doesn't feel like it because they've only played like 40 games, but we're down to the final 20 games. So it is definitely garbage time for the teams that are out of it. And when those teams match up, you've got to try and size up which team is still playing with enthusiasm and which team is kind of like, let's just get this over with. And I think in this game, you've got one of those situations where Texas wants the season to end as quickly as possible so they can go do whatever they do in the offseason. And the Mariners are playing with some enthusiasm. So I would take Seattle here, or I would leave the game alone. I'm still not enamored with laying a price with the Mariners, but they look like the right side.
Steve?
Just a few weeks ago, we're saying Seattle, Pittsburgh, the 2 worst teams in the entire league. Seattle's 3rd in their own division. There's 2 teams behind them right now in their own division. They're playing decent baseball. And as I mentioned earlier, the Rangers and Red Sox have the worst run differentials in the entire league. However, with that said, the Rangers do fit that mathematical underdog system I developed over 20 years ago. Forgot to mention also the Nationals fit it tonight. So I can't make a case for those dogs, but I will say I'm staying away from them because both the Rangers and the Nationals do fit a long-term profitable underdog system I developed 2 decades ago.
I'll say this. I've made some money taking the over strikeout props with guys, especially lefties against Texas. They got a 25% K rate. Sheffield, if he controls the walk, should be able to get over the number when it comes to strikeouts. Kikuchi hit rather easily yesterday in that one. Rockies and Dodgers, Marquez and Gonsolin. Marquez has gone 0-4 with a 6.83 ERA in his last 5 starts, Steve.
Yeah, and as I mentioned last night, I had the Dodgers as my best bet. Of course, I use them on the run line because I say each and every episode here, it's either the underdog outright or it's the Dodgers minus 1.5 or more. It continues to work. When we did the show on Wednesday, I mentioned it. And, of course, it was the kiss of death. That was only the 5th time all season that the Dodgers won a game by exactly 1 run. But they've come out and gone 2-0 the last 2 nights, winning by 4 and 4 run margins each time.
Dave, Gonsolin gave up his first run last time out.
Yep. A little misleading. He's not this good. But he's facing a bad lineup, and Marquez is slumping. He's not pitching well, and the Rockies are another team that could be play against material in these last 15 or 20 games, especially because they got off to such a good start. They're still kind of in it, but the earmarks of a team that's not real enthused right now, they're kind of there with them. I'm not putting them in that Rangers Red Sox category, but they're kind of a team I'm looking to play against more than on. And I can't back Marquez right now. Something is up with his fastball. His velocity's there, but the command isn't. And when he's not commanding his fastball, he becomes a really ordinary pitcher. But here it's a massive price. I'll agree with Steve. If you're going to play the game, you go Dodgers runs line, because if they're going to win, it's probably going to be by more than 1 run.
Dwayne?
Yeah, I got to agree with Steve and Dave here. With Marquez struggling the way he is right now, you can't really back him. Gonsolin, yeah, he's not as good as what he's looked so far. The under is 8-0-2 in his 10 career starts, including all 5 at home. But with Marquez struggling the way he is and the Rockies bullpen, I can't even look under here. So, like they said, it's either got to be Dodgers run line or nothing.
Final game, D-backs and Giants. Bumgarner, first start since August 9th when he had a mid-back strain against Cahill, facing Arizona for the 3rd straight time. Left his last start with joint inflammation in his left hip, Dwayne.
Yeah, I mean, it's his first start back, so I mean, I like to take a wait and see approach when guys are in this role. His velocity was way down before he went on the IL, so I want to watch this game to see if anything has improved with the time that he's been out. The Giants, they crushed left-handed pitching. Cahill's pitched very well in his first home start with the Giants. So it would have to be Giants or pass for me.
Dave?
I watched Cahill's last start. He's had 2 really good starts in a row. And the home run he gave up in the last start was right after he started showing some signs of discomfort on the mound. So he probably didn't have much stuff on that pitch and it got hit out. So he's had great success against this team. If this was a game with fans in the stands, I'd probably want to take Arizona because Mad Bum going back to San Francisco, I mean, that's pretty exciting. But there's not going to be anybody there. And that kind of, to me, takes the atmosphere out of the situation. And Mad Bum's a guy you want when it's, it's big game atmosphere and the stands are packed. He's still a guy I'd back in a situation like that. I can't hear, though. The Diamondbacks did win a game last night. No details yet on whether they're going to have a victory parade. Oh, boy. I mean, that's a bad baseball team. Maybe they get a little bit of a momentum boost, but I doubt it. The Diamondbacks gave up at the deadline. Everybody in the roster knows it. The Giants really blew the game last night. They had the bases loaded. I think somebody mentioned at the top of the show they had a bases loaded, nobody out in the 8th inning, and found a way to screw it up, which they haven't done much of this year. They've taken advantage of their situations. And so situationally, I still think I like Arizona here because I still like the idea of Bumgarner in this spot, but the Diamondbacks are on my no-play list, so I'll be sitting this game out. And,
Steve,
I want to see if Cahill is okay.
Steve, who has the advantage, Bumgarner because he knows the Giants or the Giants because they know Bumgarner?
Yeah, and in football, it's something I look at more in sports like football and basketball, team sports. We have so much transition with the hitters and stuff in baseball from year to year that I don't look too much at that in this one. I think it's interesting, like Dave said, if Bumgarner's not as pumped to be there, that's good for the over because that's probably the way I lean in this one. It's 9 flat for the game. It's 5 for the first 5, both key numbers. But Arizona did go 1-10 their previous 11. They broke out last night, finally got a win. What I like, though, Matt, it's the first time they had more than 9 hits in over 2 weeks. They had 12 hits. And, you look at San Francisco, we know they put up 23 at Coors, and they put up 6 the game after that. But they get back home. Yes, they scored 5 runs, but they had 12 hits and 11 runners left on base. So that Giants offense still looks hot to me. So I think over 9 is a very achievable total tonight.
All right, quickly, we'll do DFS. I'm passing over on Dave. Steve, no Coors Field for you. Where are you going with DFS today?
Yeah, nothing from me here. In general, as you know, I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I'll tell you, come back to me. Let me look at the pitcher rotation here.
I thought you were going to give me a NASCAR one.
I was going to give you a NASCAR one, and I had to remember where they were. They're actually at Darlington tomorrow. It's the start of the playoffs. A reminder that Andy Lang, Rocky Atkinson, and quick note, guys, DraftKings has honestly changed the way they do odds because of our show and Andy Lang in particular. He once again last week hit a prop with the driver win stage 1 and 2, 7-1. And now it's, the driver wins stage 1, 2, and the race 7-1. And we've been pumping that out. We have several hundred viewers who've been playing it. And the NASCAR Life in the Fast Lane show honestly has changed the way DraftKings is putting out NASCAR odds. Rocky and Andy for years have moved them offshore. So I'll give you that, Matt. That's actually better than any fantasy tip I could give you. Viewers, watch Life in the Fast Lane. It's archived right now. You'll get some winners for Sunday. There's free picks on there as well.
Dwayne, any DFS, any sport today? Throw one out.
Well, I said it before. I'm not a fantasy baseball guy, but I always make sure I look at some stuff to get ready for this show. So as far as a hitter, I looked at Gregory Polanco from the Pirates going up against DeSclafani today. He's got 22 plate appearances against him and has an 1159 OPS against him. DeSclafani's been getting hit very hard in his last 3 starts, so that seems to set up pretty well. As far as a pitcher, I'm looking at Justice Sheffield, Seattle, the lefty at home against Texas. Like I said earlier when we talked about the game, his only bad starts this season were against the Angels. Texas owns MLB's worst WRC plus against lefties, which is 58. That's 42% below the league average. They're averaging 3 runs per game as a road dog against lefties. And I'm like I said, I don't play fantasy baseball, but I would imagine Sheffield should be available at a pretty good price today.
Yeah, he certainly is. I'm going Woodruff for my pitcher today, and Luis Robert of the Chicago White Sox. By the way, if you follow me on Twitter at MidMajorMatt, I posted my DFS college football lineups for today as well. All right, I'll give you each 30 seconds because Dave wanted to talk a little college football. He didn't have any plays, but he had some thoughts. Dave, give us some thoughts on today's college football card.
Lightest of leans to Arkansas State plus the points against Memphis. I think the Tigers might be down a bit because they lost a really good coach, and the, adjustments to new coaches, even though he was on the staff, take time. But it's not playable for me. SMU, Texas State. Texas State is going to still play really fast, which I don't know why, because their quarterback play is horrible. Maybe it's not a good idea to do what the Joneses are doing if you don't have guys named Jones on your team. I think SMU could wax them, but I decided not to play any big favorites in the first week of the season because I think the defenses are going to be ahead of the offenses just because of the way this COVID stuff has transpired. Middle Tennessee State Army, I'll spend a half a minute on this one because it's the most interesting game. This game got scheduled late. So Middle Tennessee State has not had much time to prepare for the Army option, and they haven't faced any option over the past several years. So that should be a positive for Army. The downside is that Middle Tennessee State has a dual-purpose quarterback. He can run and he can pass, and the kid's good. And Army had a lot of problems with that type of quarterback last year, and their pass defense is atrocious. I think Army, if you're going to bet this game, Army early. I wouldn't be surprised if they drive the field the first time they get the ball because of the fact that Middle Tennessee State has no idea what to do against the option. So you want to take a shot on something, take a shot on Army first quarter. That would be the way I'd go in that game.
No FCS stuff there, Dave? Come on now.
I don't follow the FCS. That's your baby.
Okay. By the way, just to say, there is no TCU game for SMU coming up on Friday. That game got moved, so that was a potential worry for focus for SMU come late.
Right.
That game's not happening now, so you're going to get a fully focused SMU for 4 quarters. Steve, you can go NBA, you can go college football, you can go NASCAR. I'll give you 30 seconds here.
Yeah, Matt, I'll say all those years, those decades you and I have talked FCS is going to finally pay off for us more than ever this year, as there's going to be so many games that we want to use since it's such a limited slate. But I'll look at NBA real quick. Of course, I do NBA tip-off Monday through Friday, 3 Eastern here on Wager Talk TV. Be sure to check out Friday's episode. It's archived also as we touch about all Saturday's games as well. We did the Friday games, which are also the Sunday games, and we do both games here for Saturday, Raptors, Celtics, and Clippers, Nuggets. And then, of course, the NASCAR show is also archived, some Sunday best bets there as well. So go to YouTube, find the NBA show and the NASCAR show after you finish watching the baseball show here again, and you'll have a lot of free winners for the weekend. Wager Talk TV.
And Dwayne, I'll give you 30 seconds on whatever your supplemental sport is besides baseball.
Don't even need the time, Matt, because I haven't gone through anything else at this point. I went through the baseball this morning, wanted to make sure I had my notes ready for that. The other sports I'll get to when this show's over.
Make sure to go to wagetalk.com. You'll find Dwayne, Dave, and Steve there. And don't forget the deal. Just a couple of days left. 30 days all access to your favorite Wage Talk or Sports Memo handicapper. $199, regular price $349, or less than $7 per day. And with all these sports going on. Oh, yeah, by the way, the NFL next week. Great time to join on with your favorite handicapper. For Dwayne, Dave, and Steve, I'm Mid-Major Matt on sportsmemo.com. We will be back tomorrow at noon here on the Wager Talk YouTube TV channel. Thanks for joining us.